So we're here. In front of my screen is a circle, and it's a normal thing. Together, let's open up. The circle and the space inside this circle
Inside this circle.
represents my realm of knowledge.
So, no,
All that I think I
what
know
I think I know
about whatever I
about
think I
whatever
know
I know
is depicted right
is
here within
depicted
this
right
circle.
here in the circle.
I must keep in
Just
mind
keep
that
in
there is
mind
more to
that there
know
is more to know
than what is within the
than
circumference
the
of my
circumference of
word.
my ring.
And that's Dr. Ray Hagan. Dr. Ray Hagan. You know the deal.
Uncle Johnson,
Uncle
everyone.
Johnson,
You bet.
Uncle Johnson, everyone.
You bet. Uncle Jocelyn, life, prosperity, and good health to everybody. Anook, I am life. Anook, I am prosperity. Anook, I am good health. Normal slide, we're metaphysical students. Metaphysics is everything that exists. It says whether the world is real or merely an illusion. It is a fundamental view, a basic, resonantal view of the world around us. And we know that everything is vibrating. Everything is vibrating. And reading this, it says all things in our universe are constantly in motion, vibrating. Even objects that appear to be stationary are, in fact, vibrating, oscillating, resonating at various frequencies. The resonance is a type of motion characterized by oscillation between two states. And ultimately, all matter is just vibrations of various underlying fields. And as such, at every scale, all of nature vibrates. The earth, again, I always say it vibrates at 432 hertz. That's a sound that you actually can produce. There are ways of getting that if you wanted to hear that, to sleep, to rest, or read a book. 432 hertz. We know, because of that vibration that I just talked about, that whatever you think, you feel. And feeling, of course, is a vibration. If you feel it, you vibrate it. And then if you vibrate it, without any question, you will attract it as much as you are vibrating. You don't like it, you vibrate it a lot, you attract it a lot. You do like it, you vibrate it a lot, you attract it a lot. Guess who's in control? You are. By definition, and we've been doing this, and this is the basis of everything we do. God is. The three-letter word God is a long, definitive thing. We understand it. There are tons of GODs that people worship for different reasons. But for us, in the way we look at it, there is God. People say only one God, but we're going to say there is God because we are in God. And so the definition of God is a two-letter word, is. Anything you say after the two-letter word is just another attribute of this thing that we call God. Ernest Holmes calls it the thing in his book, The Science of Mind. There is that within us that partakes of the nature of the divine. And since it partakes of the nature of the divine, we are, in fact, divine. I always like to follow that up since I started putting that screen up with this, the definition from Oxford Languages. And it says the definition of that word, D-I-V-I-N-E, is of, from, or like God, or a God. We are made in God's image, and I believe that's going to be the next slide. Yes. We are made in God's image, not meaning hands and feet and arms and legs, but the ability to imagine. The ability to imagine. First the thought, and then the thing. First the thought, and then the thing. Portrayed in the Bible and creation, portrayed in everything that you do, every walk of life, every motion that you make. First the thing, and then first the thought, and then the thing. It is often followed by an adjective or a verb or a description to define a person's identity or state or action. It can be used as a powerful personal affirmation to build self-esteem and change negative thought. I want to make mention that you are in control. It also, the I am, can be reversed and you can change positive to negative. Guess who's in control? Knowing that God is and I am, we take a minute just to relax and inhale and breathe, understanding that if God is everywhere, then God is going to be in between the exhale and the inhale. Understanding also that there's a time that we'll all have to face when you will exhale and no longer inhale. And that's a different state. But in this state, when you inhale, you're inhaling the I am, the strength. Whatever you say after the am and the I am, that's up to you. It is done unto you as you believe. And so what we do is take a few minutes to just breathe. So we're going to just close your eyes, if you will. Just inhale nice and gently. Nice deep breath. And then hold that breath without thinking you're underwater. Just hold that breath. Take everything out of it, all the oxygen, and then just slowly, slowly let that air go. Stuff you don't need, don't keep. Again, just inhale, breathing nice and easy, nice strong breath. Inhale and hold that breath. Use it up. Let it smother around in you for a minute, long enough for you to let go of all the stuff in it that you don't want. Now exhale. Let it go. Let it go. Let anything go right now that you don't want. Let it go. One more time. Inhale. I am. Anuk. I am. Be strong. Hold. If there's anything left now, let it go. We don't need it right now. Just exhale. Let it go. And now just breathe. Regular breathe. Open your eyes and just breathe. Dua netaru. If we were in church, we'd say amen. But because we are where we are, we just say, Ashe, Ashe. I wanted to, last week, just real quick, this is the stuff we went over for anybody who wasn't with us. I can't remember. Bernard, were you here last week? I can't remember. Yeah, you were here last week. We went over a few things here, and not to go over them at all, but we're still thinking this is stuff that has to be in the back of your mind. This is something that everybody's got to do for themselves. And tonight we're going to go into some more of it. But I wanted to, there's a couple things that from last week from my notes. We were talking and this book came up and I thought I'd pull it up just so that people can see it. Charles Cocott Jones. This is a book, The Religious Instruction of the Negroes in the United States. If you get to read this, if you're building your library, please put it in there. There are some real good explanations. We don't know, a lot of people don't know how we got to where we are now. But as you read these things and find out what has transpired over time, it all makes sense. And it all makes sense because a lot of stuff was held from us. A lot of stuff was turned around. The suit's going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And then we got to learn the wrong thing. The other thing that came up last week, and I apologize. I was trying to remember the name myself. I was calling it the Stokes trial, but as it turns out, it's the Scopes, Scopes trial. And 1925. Well, let me read this because it's interesting, and we'll say more. Here from July 10th to the 21st, 1925, John Thomas Scopes, a county high school teacher, was tried for teaching that man descended from a lower order of animals in violation of a lately passed state law. William Jennings Bryan assisted the prosecution, and Clarence Darrow, whose name you may remember, back in the day he was the Johnny Cochran of the day back then. All of his team, Arthur Garfield Hayes and Dudley Field Malone, helped in his defense, but obviously Scopes was convicted. Fortunately, and I'm reading the bottom, fortunately for Scopes, Clarence Darrow bravely stepped in to defend science and the principles of enlightenment. The dark forces of religious intolerance prevailed, making Scopes a martyr for all who stand ready to fight against the ever-looming threat of religious fundamentalism. In your phones, if you look, there was a movie done in 1960 the movie is called I Inherit the Wind. And I happened to find it on YouTube, so I was able to make a copy of it or copy the link and send it to you. It is a black and white movie. It was done in 1960. But the movie has good basics to it, and obviously the movie's based on a real trial that happened here. So it is something that we need to know about, and it was also called the monkey trial. Is that on here? It doesn't say it, but it was called the monkey trial. And it's a movie worth seeing. There are a lot of old stars in the movie. It's definitely worth looking at. It is a good movie to have in your list of things if you're keeping videos. Hold on to it. Inherit the Wind, the Scopes trial. The other thing that we did last week, and I want to bring this up because we were talking about evolution versus creation. So when you talk about evolution versus creation, you got to look at the big picture and don't just start when man showed up. Because when you look at this picture, if you'll notice, if you can follow my cursor, here's where we are. Way over here. Before us, we see the age when there were dinosaurs. That's here. But even before then, and mind you, this is in not million, but billions of years. And so my question when we first looked at it, it says the formation of the moon was billions of years ago. That's 4.5 roughly billion years ago. And my question to the group when we initially looked at this, the other one was a little more complicated, but this one's very simple to look at. The question is, where does God fit in this picture? You don't have to answer, no, I don't want anybody to say anything, but we gotta, as students of metaphysics, think of all these things because you are responsible for you, I'm responsible for me, and remember, God is. So as we learn these things, understand that when we talk about, quote, creation, are we talking about what we know in the book, the Bible? Obviously not way back here when the 3.5 billion years ago when the first fossils showed up. So where's God? Just something to think about. And then lastly, I had something that is interesting because I want us to take a look at it. I tried to send this book out. I was able to find this book on PDF format. I try to put it on your phones, but I think what I'll do is send it in an email. Bernard, I have Leonard's email too, so I'll send it out.
Okay.
But my reason for doing this is because this guy, Robert Green Ingersoll, was during the period of time they call it the age of free thought. He was known as the great agnostic. And if you don't know what an agnostic is, you have atheists and then you have agnostics. Atheists say there is no God. You got to be kidding me. Ain't no God. And I don't know, I haven't read a whole lot of proof on that, but I got this book in 2002. I remember sitting in Rose and Curtis's living room when I shared this book with the group. And I pulled it up and I found it again because here we are. Robert Green Ingersoll was an American lawyer, and he was a writer and an orator, a person who made speeches all over the place. And he wrote this book. And in this book, he actually explained a whole lot about why we believe what we believe. And in the book, he talks about even our parents. He talked about his upbringing and how his mom and his pop, they must have known, reading the Bible, certain things could not have been true. We just didn't question them. And he actually talked about one of the people, and this is just one thing, and it kind of leads up to where we're going tonight. There was a guy, Edwards was his name, Jonathan Edwards. He was a writer, a Christian writer, and he wrote a book that was called The Freedom of the Will. And in The Freedom of the Will, he based it on a scripture in the Bible, a whole book, by the way. And just reading from Why I'm an Agnostic by Mr. Ingersoll, it reads this way. Listen to me. It says, he read the book, The Will. He calls it The Will. And he says, in the will, the author shows the necessity has no effect on accountability. And that when God creates a human being and at the same time determines and decrees exactly what that being shall do and be, the human being is responsible. And God, in his justice and mercy, has the right to torture the soul of that human being forever. And yet, this Christian writer, he says, said he loved God. So in reading this book, there's tons and tons of examples. He calls them ISIS, but he even goes back to back in history, way back in history, like I just did with that last slide. And he talks about writers from different angles of the belief in the Bible and how we have to understand that what we're reading, you don't just not question it. Let me see what I got here. And he said this, if the people were to be a little more ignorant, astrology would flourish. And if a little more enlightened, religion would perish. In other words, astrology is all around you. You can see it. You can see all the stuff that's going on. It's in your face. But what we do is we take religion and we put a whole lot of stories and different things into it. And we make it something that, for whatever reason, we want it to be. And the book that he wrote finally, the book that the passage in the Bible, that he used to make that book, The Freedom of the Will, is Romans 9:16. And in it, it says, it does not therefore depend on human desire or effort, but on God's mercy. And the explanation is in this passage, the Apostle Paul emphasizes that salvation and God's blessings are a result of his capital sovereign grace rather than human striving or inherited rights. Something to think about. Something to think about. And I think as we go into tonight, and Asut will say more into that, because I think he's following up on that with what he's saying. But it's something to think about only because we all have to make these decisions for ourselves. Build your library, do your reading, do your studies, come back to the group, let's talk about things. Now, let's don't use opinions, let's use backup to come up with what we come up. because we're metaphysical students. And with that, I'm going to slide my screen over to, it's a black screen. Masood, are you ready? Is he there still?
And I'm ready. Can you hear me? Am I
I do hear
focused?
you. I do hear
Yeah,
you.
good. Let's see.
Now, you have to, well, I have to wait on you, I guess. I'll stop sharing. First, I'll allow, and then I will stop sharing, and we're good. So I am looking at you now on my screen, so I think everybody's seeing what I see.
All right, all right. Thank you, Elder, my father, my teacher. Thank you. Dua, Unc Ujasuner, Unc and
Yes,
Mayat.
sir.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you to the ancestors. Thank you to the netters.
Yes, yes.
Uh, Also, thank you to my UCT family, my Universal Circle of Truth family. Thank you for having me again, allowing me to convey some information. And to anybody else, what I'm gonna do is take me. And to anybody else who's listening to us, because this session is being recorded,
Yeah.
so we do appreciate you following us and um, see my screen again because I think I took it off by mistake. Do y'all see my screen?
Your screen is still
Okay.
on. The
Yeah,
misogyny
really.
nature of the Bible.
That's right. Really appreciate those that spending the time. You could have been anywhere, but of course you're with us, and we really appreciate that. Again, Uncle Joshua Neb, and let's get into it because time is always a factor. So as y'all see on my screen, it's going to be my title, The Misogynistic Nature of the Bible, authorized by God. Misogynistic nature of the Bible. This is actually going to be dedicated to all my sisters. Um, Definitely all women everywhere, but especially but not exclusively to my black women. Um, I'm always a little bit more concerned with us. I'm concerned with the world, but I'm concerned with us first. So I'm dedicating this to our sisters. Maybe we get a little bit more insight of what we've been following and studying, and maybe we can see it in a more metaphysical, more deeper way that we can really enter stand it, understand it, and try not to overstand it, so it won't go over ourselves. So let's get into it. Let's first see what is misogyny. What is misogyny? Let's look into the etymology of misogyny, right? And I got all of this queued up. So first we're gonna go to the etymology, the study of words, the study of misogyny. And misogyny originates from the Greek word misos. Now we do know the Greek people are some peculiar people, so it's a lot of strange things happen with the Greeks, right? It's a Greek word that means what? Hatred. And the gene, woman, which literally means hatred of women. The term misogyny first appeared in English in the mid 17th century, adopted from modern Latin misogynia, which itself comes from the ancient Greek misogynia, an abstract noun derived from misogynes, meaning woman hater. All right, so it's already getting a little hairy, right? It's growing legs. Starting to walk a little bit. Literally meaning woman hater. That there is definitely a culture that highly melanated, highly carbonated, melanated beings like ourselves is not familiar with. Only to now that we grasped on to that kind of culture where we literally hate women, become women haters. That's not the African way, right? So right away, that's a Greek word. It comes from the Greeks. Let's see a definition of, see what the definition is given for misogyny. Misogyny, dislike or contempt for or ingrained prejudice against women. I don't know if anybody remember my last lecture last week. We can always go back to it because we have the channel now. And I think we was hearing something about the link might be a problem, but we'll fix that. We'll get into that. But it's always good to go back and look at these things so we can study a little bit harder, get more in depth to it. But I mentioned about Kamala and why I think, it's just my opinion, why I think Kamala really didn't win. I think one, because she's a black woman, and one, in the Bible, women cannot have that kind of authority. Again, ingrained prejudice against women, especially with their authority or what they're saying. They should only be doing certain things assigned to them and stuff. So let's see some examples of misogyny, because maybe we heard this word before, and I know I have my sister, my real sister, the mother of my beautiful nieces, Sister Chris. She's on here, and my nieces might be actually listening to this, and they of age. They're you know 20, 18, in the teens or whatnot, but they might not. They might have heard this word, but not know exactly what it means. So, what's some examples of misogyny? Misogyny manifests as hatred, prejudice, and contempt towards women, appearing in both subtle everyday behaviors and systematic social structures. Everyday examples: objectification of women, catcalling, street harassment, groping, unsolicited comments and on appearances. And men are so wow, because they'll say something and they think they doing something right, but because they're not in tuned with themselves on both sides, because remember, we come from mama and daddy, so we actually have both inside, and not in tune with that female that they trying to have some kind of engagement with. They say all the wrong things. Oh, girl, that booty looks nice, and for some reason he think that's gonna go over well with the. We got to work on ourselves, man. Gender-based roles, expecting women to handle domestic chores and stuff. You got to stay barefooted in the kitchen and stuff like that. Employment status, Kamala. Assignment them middle tasks at work, like making coffee or taking meetings. Nothing serious. Nothing like running the country. Nothing like that. I mean, they actually said that if she get in the seat, she's gonna cause wars. Go figure. What's some more examples? Language and insults. And it goes on. Undermining expertise. Undermining expertise. That's definitely a culture that we are not familiar with. But somehow we latched onto that. And the reason is because we're so latent with the Bible inside of us. So since that's the case, and we have the Bible as our moral compass, let's look at, we checked all those things off. Etymology of misogyny definition, and what's some examples. All of that was terrible towards representing what women should have as far as respect and accommodations and whatnot. Right? Do you agree? That's you don't have to yourself. You can agree with me. So let's go to the Bible. Let's go to the Bible, because everybody say, well, the Bible. let's let the Bible handle this, right? Let's let the Bible handle this. All right. Well, let's see what the Bible say. Here are a list of things of misogynistic insults and badgery towards women. It says, let me see, I don't know if y'all guys can read that. I even bump it up a little bit more. It says there are more than, listen, guys, there are more than 200 Bible verses that specifically belittle and demeans women. But here are just a few. Genesis. You can write these down. And again, we are recording this. So it's always good to rewind it, look back at it, stop it, pause it, write down, get your Bibles. If you have your Bibles in hand, you could follow these. But I'm going to run through this because time permits. Genesis 2:22, women created from Adam's rib. That's crazy, y'all. That's not logical. From the start, that's not.
Yeah.
It's not logical. And also, my dad talks about evolution. It's not happening no more, by the way. It's not happening. What just happened, what happened is the writers took all of the power and the grace and the effort of the great woman giving birth and actually somehow gave it to the men. Now, if that's not part of that list of misogynistic. Now, anyway, uh 3:16 woman cursed with maternity and sin, marriage and bondage. 19:1 through 8, rape virgins instead of male angels. All right. Exodus 20:17, assault 10, insulting the insulting 10th commandment, which is I'm not going to turn to it for time, but if I remember, that's the commandment where the woman, it says, you are not to covenant a man's woman, bondsman. The woman is listed with the slaves. I don't like to really say slaves, but listed with the captured people, with the livestock, with the man's possession. He's listed like that. And also, they don't have a commandment in other side for the woman. What happens when a woman covers the husband? It's not there. All right, so that's that commandment. I don't want to go through it. 22:18, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Wow, they're killing them. And back in the days, everybody was a witch. You couldn't do nothing. The way how they say women talk back now and women, voice themselves, a lot of them would have been burnt. They witches. They can't have that. 38:8, woman may not enter tabernacle. They must support. They have to support the all of the things that's going on in tabernacle, but they cannot go in there. And it goes on and on. Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, which is law. We should know that. Judges, Kings, Proverbs, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Matthew, going even to the New Testament. A lot of people say, "Well, that's the Old Testament." They don't do that in the New Testament. The New Testament is a remix. Jesus cut all that out. I do want to, while I'm speaking about good old Jesus, and no disrespect to anybody who's into him like that, but I have to say, since we're talking about women, he did tell the young lady who we think have some kind of African descent in her, told her as she was clinging on to his garment and begging him for his help to take the sickness away from her daughter, and he turned around and snatched his garment. I'm paraphrasing and paraphrasing. He snatched his garment and he say, I am not here to something about give to the dogs. Called the young lady a dog, called the young sister a dog. And just like a young sister, a young, beautiful, melanated, 9 times out of 10, highly carbonated, melanated sister, she turned to him and said, well, wait a minute. Even the dogs get the crumbs from the bread from the master's table sometimes. And right then, Jesus said, damn, you know what? I'm sorry, excuse my language. He said, you know what? You're right. And he helped that lady. But I just had to throw that in since we talking about women and Good old Jesus. But it goes on and on the list. You have this list. You should copy these lists and read them. Go into your Bible, right? But what I want to do is actually read a couple of stories that maybe we just didn't. We definitely didn't hear these stories in depth. And if we did, it was ran through fast because these are damaging scriptures towards women, towards the respect of women, the autonomy of women, the actual sheer power. They take the power away from y'all. So the first one I want to go to is this is wrong right here, but the first one I want to go to is without I want to read. We good so far? Everybody with me?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay. I want to go to Deuteronomy 22, 13 through 21. I got it queued up. Got it queued up. I'm not trying to run through it a little fast because time we don't want to hold y'all. But we want to come in with the uppercut instead of jab, jab, jab all day. We want to come in and just let you know what it is. So here is, let me set the scene. This is Deuteronomy. Again, remember what is Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy is law. This is law from God. These are instructions from God. This is the law. And here we have on Deuteronomy 22, 13, 21. Again, I read the New Revised Standard Version because that's the more scholarly read. I know the King James is a more popular read, but in my opinion, it's the worst read. But I know everybody deals with the King James. So if you follow the King James, it should say somewhat the same. And here's the laws concerning sexual relations. Now, listen deeply now. Suppose a man marries a woman, but after going into her, dislikes her. Wait a minute, let's just stop there. Suppose a man marries a woman, but after goes in her or knows her in biblical terms or have sex with her and dislike her. He did not like it. And the next verse he say, and makes up charges against her. Wait a minute, what does that mean right there? Let's read that again. Suppose a man marries a woman, but after goes into her and dislike her, and makes up a charge against her. This ain't even the truth. About to just because he don't like her, he's about to make up something, slandering her by saying, "I married this woman, but when I lay with her, I did not find evidence of her virginity." The father of the young woman and her mother shall then submit the evidence. Now, this hypothetical question, but I wonder, do anybody know what that evidence would be?
Hmm. Hmm.
The evidence is blood on the sheets the night of the consummation.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because, right, because a virgin shall have her hymen intact, and when you right, and if we know the custom of the Bible, a lot of times these young women was young women, 12 years old, 13, 9.
I forgot that
Um,
that young. I forgot about that.
I know. So the hymen is supposed to be intact. Now this is a question to the women, hypothetically, not hypothetically, but you don't have to answer. I just want y'all to think of this. Now to the women, and I'm not trying to be derogatory or disgusting, but how many of y'all on your first time bled? And for the men, scientifically, I would bring it up now, but you more than welcome to look it up. This is what we study for. This, that's my dad saying. This is what we study for. Look up what is the percentage of women bleeding on their first time. I'll tell you so. It's like 48%. We could round it to 50%. So 50% of women actually don't bleed their first time. Uh-oh. But wait, let's finish. Just to give you a little bit more information on that. So the father of the so what's supposed to happen when he again, remember, when he makes up something because he don't like how she felt when he got inside of her. What is the father to do? The father of the young woman and her mother shall then submit the evidence, which is the sheets of the bloody sheets of the young girl, of the young woman, virginity, to the elders of the city at the gate. The father of the
Wow.
young woman shall say to the elders, exactly. Everybody get to see these bloody sheets. It's nothing sacred. The father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. And now he has made up charges against her, saying, I did not find evidence of the daughter, no blood on the sheets,
Mm.
virginity. But here is the evidence of my daughter virginity. Then they shall spread out the cloth before the elders on the town. And everybody in the town should just inspect this bloody sheet, by the way. The
Mhm.
elders of that town shall take the man and punish him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, which they shall give the young woman father. Now, okay, at least he got punished, right? He got punished. If they find out that he's lying, they find him some money, whatever. But what happens if the woman actually wasn't a virgin?
Mm.
It
Mm.
says it said because he has slandered the virgin of Israel, she shall remain a wife. She shall remain his wife after he done lied to her and everything. Lied about it, everything. He shall not be permitted to divorce her as long as he lives. Now check this out. What happens to the girl if it was true? Now remember, the Bible itself earlier said what, y'all? That he did make up charges against her because he didn't like how she felt.
Right.
But it say, if however, however this charge is true, the evidence of the young woman virginity was not found, then they shall bring the woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and then the man of the town shall stone her to death. Minute, he lied on her, and all he got to do is pay some money. But if she so happened to be a virgin, she gotta die by this. Not only did he lie about it and got caught with the lie, but I got to stay with this guy.
Right.
Wow.
Whatever, as long as he lives.
Uh-uh.
Now, is that question, while I'm thinking about it, is that
Mhm.
a law like we just talked about when was it Isaac and the birthright? The
That
law,
is that is a cultural law. That is
cultural,
law. Deuteronomy is law. Now
Mhm.
that's not a universal law.
The local law for
That is that is the law for a culture of people who was following this kind of stuff. Not you.
right, right.
You understand? So again, this is a law, Deuteronomy of the Bible. Deuteronomy meaning that it comes from God, the God of Israel. But if you know, like I know, the God of Israel is not universal. So it's not a universal law. That is asinine right there. That is terrible right there. But in the Bible, it's just fine.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Right. So now I say, however, good question too. Thank you for that. Be stoned to death because she committed a disgrace act. Israel prostituted herself in the father's house. So you shall, yeah, and I'm sure y'all probably heard that. She's a whore. She's a prostitute in the father's house. But did they read the other part of that? Because
Mhm.
that's crazy. So you shall purge the evil from the midst. So let's kind of wrap that up right there on what just happened. The dude did not like her when he slept with her. He made up some stuff.
Yeah.
Notice how the woman don't have any autonomy in any of this. Nobody asked her about anything. By the way, you don't even speak to her. Matter of fact, you don't even know her name.
Speaks. She never speaks.
Um, She's never speaks. She's never asked anything. How do you feel about this? What happened? What happened? The man lies about it. He's caught in his lie. He has to pay some money. The Bible say just to let y'all know, just in case it was the truth, even though this man lied, but just in case if it was the truth, then this girl would have been dead. What else happened? The woman is nothing sacred. All her everything, her bloody, her bloody sheets was exposed to everybody in town. She still got to live after all of this. The woman still got to stay with the man after he done blatantly lied. So that's what's going on with that. But now, wait a minute. Is that something that might be happening today? Let's see. T.I. controversy. Hyman check. This is a T.I. Some people might not know who T.I. is. T.I. is
Yeah.
a rapper. It's a hip hop rapper. And what does it say? Say rapper T.I. Joseph Harris drew widespread criticism in late 2019 after saying on the Ladies Like Us podcast that he takes his 18-year-old daughter
Mm.
to the gynecologist yearly. How embarrassing is that to that young lady? To check her hymen. Well, now where did he get that from? Because they're not teaching that in school.
No.
Especially now, look, I want y'all to think how heinous this actually is. Remember, I told y'all about 50%, if we round it up, 50% of women do not bleed their first time. So now think about it. Suppose in that story before that, the mother, suppose that the virgin did not bleed the first time, but she really was a virgin, and the parents couldn't bring that to the gate of the elders. What would have happened to that innocent young lady? They would have stoned her.
Wow.
Basically, back in those days, 50% of the women was innocent and they died. The Bible tells you so because the Bible tells me so.
Right.
And this is still going on to this day. Because where did T.I. get that from? Very intelligent brother, but he's very engulfed into the Bible too. And that's very, very that's humiliating that young lady. Critics condemn the comments of humiliating, controlling, and scientifically inaccurate.
That kind of hurts the relationship too with them because it shows distrust.
It really messes it up. Psychologically, it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on. Let's move on. I have one more story. We're gonna talk about David. David. My name. I was named after a great elder, my granddaddy, David Deal. So maybe he took his name from the Bible, but I was named from a great elder, David Deal. And let's talk about David. Let's talk about David. What do they say about David? They actually say that David is God's favorite. I don't know if y'all ever heard that before. It says, what's the quote? The quote is David, the man after God's own heart.
Mm. Yeah.
As you can see, I got a whole section on David. I got a whole dissertation on whatever need to be said. But let's get back to where we at. All right. Let's talk about David. David. The story on David, I'm gonna kind of run through it quick without. Do everybody know the story between David and Bathsheba?
Yeah, you might
David,
want to.
King David.
Some of us do, but some you might want
Oh,
to do a quick.
okay, so I'm gonna run through it. I'm gonna kind of paraphrase it. So David, King David, um, one day he was bored. He went up to his top of his roof, and he was kind of thinking about things, trying to figure out things. And he so happened to glance over to the next building, and it was this young, striking, beautiful woman that was bathing butt naked in the shower. And he sat there and he stared, and he stared and he stared, and it actually says this, that he stared and he got excited about standing too. I don't know if y'all noticed, but that's actually voyeurism. He's peeping Tommy. But anyway, he was staring at it. And so he got so excited about it. He ran downstairs and he went to go talk to one of his servants or one of his main men, his captains or whatever. And he went, he said, listen, I want you to go across the street and go get that girl. I seen her bathing and so and so, and go get her for me. And so he say, across the street. No, man, that's you can't have that girl. That's Uriah's
So
wife. Uriah was. Go ahead. You was gonna say something?
I was going to say he was a soldier, right?
Yeah, he was actually one of, if not the best soldier at the time for David. Um, he was a soldier, but that was his wife, and it so happened that Uriah was out to war at the time. So anyway, the servant went to go get him. Um, he went to go get her. He had relations with Bathsheba. Now, again, if you read that passage, he never asked Bathsheba anything. She kind of had to acquiesce to it. She gave in. So that's misogyny right there too.
Right.
But anyway, that's not the crux of the story. That I just want to go through it. So he had relations with Bathsheba, sent her back home, whatever. Uriah came home, and later on they come to find out that Bathsheba is pregnant. And David is nervous about it. And so he's like, oh God, everybody gonna find out that I done messed with this man's wife. So he comes up with this brilliant idea to send Uriah out to war to see if he could get killed. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that'll happen and so on. So he sent Uriah. And Uriah didn't want to go at first. He's like, no, you Lord, I just came back. I want to chill with my wife, this and that. And then after a while, he was like, well, if you tell me to do it, because I'm a faithful servant, I'm gonna go. So he went. And so David, like, good, he gonna die out there. And Uriah was a bad man, and he killed her. He made it back home. You're like, oh man, what happened? And so anyway, I think he sent him back out again, and Uriah ended up dying.
Yeah.
Right. And he ended up marrying Bathsheba and having kids from her. Okay. All right. So that's the story of David and Bathsheba. He stole Uriah's wife. Bathsheba had no she had no say so in none of this. Right? So now we're gonna go to the aftermath of that because again, people have heard that story, but what's the aftermath of that? The aftermath of that is comes to 2 Samuel 12:11. And uh fast forward, it gets to the point where now David is kind of going back and forth with the Lord, and the Lord is about to punish him for a lot of stuff. The censors, it's a lot of stuff going on. But in this case, he's about to punish him. And look what the Lord say. So what does it say first? It says, this is what the Lord say. Who says this? The Lord says this. It says, out of your own household, I am going to bring calamity. I'm going to bring calamity on you. Before, wow, is God good all the time?
All the
Mm.
time.
All the time he good. Out of your own house, I am going to bring calamity on you. Before your very eyes, I will take your wives and give them to one who is close to you, and he will sleep with your wives in broad daylight.
Mm.
Oh, that's
That's
that's where God, good old God, did nothing like that. That's crazy. You mean to tell me?
the Lord.
You mean to tell me? Saying my internet. Y'all still see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is no way in the world that God is going to take David wives without questioning the wives or asking the wives, by the way, and have somebody else to go and actually sleep with them in broad daylight. God is good all the time. Man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's fast forward all the way to Samuel, 2 Samuel 16, and we're gonna go to 20. We're gonna start at 20, right? You fast forward, again, remember I say God is punishing David. Right after that, actually, he made David and Bathsheba's son real ill. And David begged God, please, please don't do this. I'm your favorite servant. I'm your guy. I'm the man after your heart. Why are you doing this to me? And I think after about 5 or 7 days or something like that, the son died. I mean, God was cold, boy, right? But let's fast forward and remember what he said. What he said he's going to have to happen. The advice of Apithel and Hushai. Apithel, I'm butchering that name, not on purpose, it just is actually David's advisor. But he's trying to build up this coup. He's trying to build up David's son, Absalom,
Yeah.
to become king. So he's trying to get him to overthrow David. So we go to 20. Say Absalom said to Ahithophel, "Give us your advice. What should we do?" Check this out. Ahithophel, which is David's advisor, answered, "Sleep with your father's
Oh,
concubine."
God.
What? Just
Mm.
sleep with your father's concubine, whom he left to take care of the palace. Then oh yeah, that's right. David himself went out to he went out. I think this is the time that he went out to the I think went out to the mountains and lamented. I can't remember, but he was gone from the palace. And he left his concubines. And he said, then all of Israel will hear that you have made yourself obnoxious to your father, and the hands of everyone with you will be more resolute. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof, and he slept with his father's concubines in the sight of Israel. So wait a minute.
Mm.
You mean to tell me that's like soft porn right there. You mean to tell me God authorized, just like he authorized in Deuteronomy, the first story, to as a law to have that virginity test, a real heinous virginity, he authorized that. You mean to tell me him himself, because it said the Lord said that he authorized for David's son to sleep with the concubines on top of the roof in front of all of Israel. That's like soft porn right there.
Yeah.
Now, what does the women have to say about this? I talk to a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people. I debate a lot of people, and then I don't debate a lot of people because you only debate your equals, or others you try to teach. But I talk to them, and you know what kind of answers they give me? Well, they were just concubines. Oh, misogynistic thought process. They were just concubines. I mean, ain't nobody trying to worry about what they thinking about.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me they have no say so with just to be sexually assaulted? Because that's rape, by the way.
Yeah.
Sexually assaulted in front of all of Israel on the top of a roof because they got David and his son got problems. Now, as we go further into this chapter, the aftermath, what happens with the wives is even more crazy. I'm not gonna read it, but you can read it yourself because it's farther on. After a while, when David come home and finds out about this, you know what he does? He cursed the women so they never marry ever again, and he packs them away from population
Yeah.
in like their own little solemn area, so they forever. And he don't even sleep with them no more. So they just done. But again, they didn't they didn't have no say so in none of this. So
Yeah.
now they never to be seen again. He cursed them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all I have. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but especially about, well, I could go on and on and on. It's so much. But I think the important the important part of this is for women. Why would you follow something? And also, too, when you read about the women in the Bible, they play some very important parts. Unbelievable. They play some very, very important parts. So now, why the most important element in the Bible is being disrespected like that? It makes me think about black women, how hard they have it, how, like even now, I see not just from everybody else, but even from us, our men, I speak from the men on how we disrespect. I remember growing up, it was love songs. They didn't dare put the B word in there or call them this and that. And now, fast forward to 2026, and you got the women calling themselves B's
Yep.
and H's. But but again, if we using the Bible as a moral compass, then we really got to dig into the culture of the Bible and see, does that fit? Are we supposed to acclimate to that right there? Or do we supposed to look to something like Amenhotep III, who sat arm in arm with his wife? Um, ooh, Queen T was, some say Queen T, Queen Ty, who was depicted a lot of times with an afro.
Mhm.
Or should we look at a culture that had Queen Nzinga, who uh, went in front of the British, and the British was very misogynistic and didn't want to even offer the lady a seat, and she just simply clapped her hands to beckon the call of her servant, and the servant sat down in front of her so she could sit on top of him. We talk about real power. Or do we deal with the Bible that tell you need to take your young daughter to the doctor every year and check her hymen?
Do you think that a lot
But
of
that's it though.
the force, just out of
That's
question,
it.
do you think a lot of that is
Mhm.
force when the men dominated the women that way? Was it there are stories of women, tribes, and warriors. As a matter of fact, California, the lady that California is made after was a great warrior, great warrior.
Yeah.
Um, when you look at this kind of dominance, you think about strength. You think about overtaking somebody because if the women if they didn't fear, they probably would say something. We don't want to do that. But fear is there because they know what would be the consequences if they didn't go.
Um, fear is part of it. Remember this word, scrupulosity. Scrupulosity. Let's see if I can. Scrupulosity. Remember this. Scrupulosity. And scrupulosity is the subtitle of obsessive compulsive disorder. It's an OCD, characterized as excessive anxiety and moral or religious correctness. He basically fighting between heaven and hell. And not only that, you got an OCD about it. You got an obsessive compulsive. I got to do right. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to go to church because I did so much yesterday. I went to the club last night. Oh God, heaven. I'm starting to see devils. I need to talk in tongues. I'm not making. I'm being funny, and I'm not making fun of those we trying to help. But that's what it is. And the reason is because it's been, you mentioned the book that I mentioned last week, but I'm glad you brought it back up. The instructions, the religion instructions of the Negro in America. I believe that's the name of it. But that's a very good book because that's the part of it right there. That's part of your psychosis, scrupulosity part of it right there. The fact of being scared to do things and live and experience things. Remember, the experience itself is divine. You beat out so many other cells to get here. So you're supposed to experience life.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, and you get to have to weigh yourself on the balance, the scale of Maya, then your heart need to be at least a little lighter than the feather. You don't have to be perfect, but you
Yeah.
need to, it's not about perfection. It's the effort that's involved.
That's correct. And that's what you're saying. That is with people with some kind of discernment saying what we're saying because you think a certain way. But if you look at things and um, you see these kind of stories, and then I said something before about the passage in the Bible that I think it's 9:16. So even though you didn't do, and it may be why they did it, they knew. It doesn't make it right, but they knew. Even though you may do all that you think is right, and I'm reading now, it's still going to be, here it says, and that when God
Yeah,
creates a
Romans
human
9.
being, that 9:16, I think that's the verse. When God makes a human
Yeah,
being at the same time determines and decrees exactly what that being shall do and be, then the human being is responsible. If there's a mistake made, the human being is responsible. And then God, in his
right.
just and mercy, has the right to torture the soul of that human
That's
being
right.
forever.
That's
And
right.
so if you're in a society where you know better because you don't believe what I just read, then you take God's place. So the woman would then be subservient to the man because I'm next to God, I'm it. All right, so I'm going to make you do whatever I want you to do. You don't get to say nothing. A patriarchal society. Um, the Bible is set up with tons and tons of patriarchal societies. And you mentioned something when you started. There's a ton of stories in the Bible that were read fast. There's a lot of them read over and over and over and over and over. And we say, like you say, God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. And you pick that up and you run with it. But the stuff we're talking about now, those are stories in the Bible that got read fast. And most Christians have not read that Bible, but they're Christians. Because if they read that Bible, that's why I did the thing with the book that I sent out about why I'm agnostic. If you read that Bible and you listen to all the stuff that's in it, and actually, like you did today with the stories that we're looking at, you say, well, wait a minute, something's not right with this Christianity thing. Something's not right. Something ain't equal, something ain't fair. You know, go back to the promised land given to the promised people, given the promised land, and there's people already there. So how does God look at the people who are already there? Story got read over fast. That part got read over real fast.
That part got read over real fast,
Right.
wow.
And
Yeah.
what people remember is, yeah, people remember the part that they want. So if you ask somebody, do you believe in the Bible? The same Bible that we're reading now, and they say yes, you have to ask this next question. Well, what part do you believe in? You need
Right.
to ask that because you can't just say that as a blanket statement. There's too much in that book.
Right.
Has anybody
And
started reading the Ethiopian, be reading that, using that thing at all? Anybody got anything they like about it or dislike that Ethiopian Bible? I have not. I have not had a chance to really look, compare some stories. I don't imagine they would be much different, but
well, they're not going to be too much different. They're going to have some extra added stuff to it.
yeah, okay.
Well, and when I say added, I mean added from the King James, only because the King James is the most popular, but Ethiopian been around longer, of
Yeah,
course. But it's like if you look at the Catholic, but it's going to be some more things in there that, you know,
yeah.
you look at the wow, there's so many books, you know what I'm saying? The books that didn't make the canon, that didn't make it. You know, you got those. Book of James, book of
Yeah,
Enoch, book of it's so you know, it's so many. So
yeah. And the
that's the thing.
question is again, and people say it, the Bible said it, and I believe it. Well, did they read the whole Bible?
Right.
Are you a
No,
Christian? You go by this Bible? What the question's got to be, well, what part do you go by? Because we can pick any part of it that we want to and be of any character we want to be, right? So you can't
Right.
come with a blanket statement. And this is for anybody who gets that question. I believe in the Bible. It's in the Bible, and God said it, and you okay, you said so, but what part of that book do you believe in? You can't say the whole thing, then I know you didn't read it then. You already told me you didn't read it if you say that. Is it a part that you like more than others? Is it a part that you pick that you guide your life with, and the rest of it you kind of let go? If that's the case, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of books on your shelf right now that you can find sections in them that you could live your life on. Take a section out of the book and you say, I'm gonna use this in my life, and it'll work just like the Bible. This-
well, and also too that that's part of it right there. If they did read the Bible, what other books did they read? Because you can't. The thing about research is you have to source the source.
yeah,
So now, you know, if in order for me to in order for me to use the Bible as a source and I need to source it with some other things, that means I got to literally go outside of the Bible.
yeah,
I have to read some history books. I need to read the customs of that time. I need to read other, well, to give you an example, if you only read the Bible, you would think that Jesus was well known all around the world.
right. That's true.
But but when you look at it and you try to go find other writings about Jesus, you actually can't find none. And there was authors and writers during Jesus' time. So you mean to tell me nobody wrote about Jesus? Nobody wrote about Jesus during that time?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But if you just read the Bible, then you think that everybody was following this. This is what it was.
It's an implication. It's definitely implied. And what it is, and that book is really, you get to read Why I'm Agnostic. Our parents, we all kind of grew up in that. They kind of knew it. They didn't question it. Some of that stuff had to be kind of weird, kind of strange. Again, God puts Adam and Eve on the earth. You made them. You know how they're going to be. You know how they're going to act. But then when they do something, you're going to punish them with pain, and you're going to punish them with all the things that you punish them with. But you made them. And so now they're responsible for doing something that you knew they were going to do because you made them. But we didn't question that. We gave this three-letter word a lot of consequence. And that's why we're studying so much, because please understand the concept of that three-letter word. I tend to not want to use it, but the three-letter word has different meanings depending on where you go. It should not. It should not. But if we're going to study as metaphysicians, this is where we are. And this is why we study, because you got to understand that there's a lot of stuff, even in the Bible, that points to things that when you look at them and do the God-given common sense that goes along with it, then you start to understand, I need to question this some more. Why do bad things happen to good people? That's the name of a book, by the way, if anybody wants to get it. It's a very small book, and that's the name of it. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's a very good book. I don't want to get into it now, but it explains a lot of things that would let you know that you have a lot of work to do, and the work that you have to do is yours. It belongs to you, just like the breathing that we do when we get started. That's you. We may be doing it together, but trust me, that's each and every one of you. Us. Let me go back and let me see. I think I got to do the share all over again, Dave. I think I got to do this. I got to do that. I think you may be looking at a black screen. PowerPoint. Should be a black screen. Is everybody looking at a black screen?
Yeah.
Cool. We're back. We're back on my screen. But basically, this is where we are, and time's there now. So we're here. Yeah, we're here. And before we say this, before we get in this, I'm in the process of, I don't use AI a lot. I do. I do. I take that back. I use it for the tool it's supposed to be. I actually use it for research. And if you back it in the corner, it'll give you the right answer. But the three-letter word that's in here, let me go back. The three-letter word that's in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to throw this out before we say it because I want you to think about it. It's a prayer of protection. And when we say it, we talk about light, we talk about love, we talk about protection via power, and we talk about being watched over. And so if you look at it and what we've been thinking of, what we've been studying and what we've been actually doing is acquainting ourselves with quote ancestors. So if I take that three-letter word and I say the light of my ancestors surround me and the love of my ancestors enfold me, the power of my ancestors protect me and the
That's right.
presence of my ancestors watches over me everywhere I go. My ancestors are there. You
That's right.
find
Right.
that there's a closer spirit to that. But, and I'm in the process of having this change. That's one of the things I'll use AI. But we need to work on the three-letter word because the three-letter word is the reason why there have been so many wars in the world.
Right.
Understand that.
And that is part of the deconstruction of it.
Right.
Because words are spells.
Right.
You know, I mean, it impacts you. Certain word again is vibration. Certain words do something to you. It could make you happy. It could make you sad. It could
Right.
get you, shaky or whatever.
Right.
So when you add and you eliminate words, what you're doing is actually building a real nice prosperity machine,
Yeah.
and you oiling it up. So you absolutely right that you take away God, because I don't even actually when we say this and I say it, I say netter
Yeah.
or
Good.
enter. I don't say God.
Oh, there's
Y'all
another
always
word
hear
that
me
could
say
be used. That's a good netter.
yeah, netter.
Something to think about.
Um,
I
yeah, I
think
don't. But it takes time.
yeah.
It
And it
takes
does.
it takes time, but you got to work on it. That's the focus. And
That's
when you
why we
focus
study.
on that, yeah,
That is why we study. Use the word because when you use the word, and I said this before, and then we're done, you use the word because the word is a common denominator no matter where you come from. It's common. But the concept of it is not. While the word has a meaning or something that people see and they feel it's something bigger than me, but it's molded because people mold it to do what they want to. Well, the real thing the three-letter words, you can't mold. You do not have the ability to do that. You can't get it to do things that you want it to do because it doesn't work like that. And I'm going back to Ernest Holmes' book, The Science of Mind. But here we are. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep because I got work to do. Everybody's got work to do, you know. And this is
and remember that God is not His name. Remember, He said, "I am."
that's right.
So I don't even know why we keep. Yeah, but anyway, but I'm with you. Yeah,
No, I understand. I understand. That's why we go to the I am, because we are. Well, I don't want to get into that more tonight, but we are all in this thing. And I think it was one of the people in the group we asked about God, where was God? And he said, well, God is in me. Think about it this way, and then we can close. God wouldn't be in you. It probably is the other way around. God wouldn't be in you. God's too big. But you could very well be in God, which means if you want things to happen to you in that universe, you have things to do. Because
Right.
as you believe them and as they work for you, it's because you believe them. It's because you vibrated them. Because God's not in you, it's the other way around. Think about it. We're here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. We're good.
Okay.
Prayer protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God
Lord
enfolds
my
us.
God, upholds us.
The power of God
The
protects
power of God protect us.
us. And the presence of
And the
God
presence
watches
of
over
God
us.
watches over us
Wherever we are.
wherever we are.
God is.
God is.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
You know the deal.
Right. Uncle Johnson there.
Yes. All the time. All the time, Uncle
Thank you,
Johnson.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Uncle Johnson there.
Uncle Johnson there. Dua Netaru. Be safe out there.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.